It's actually exactly 10 p.m. on this Saturday, December 22nd, 2012. And I wish I had everything that I wanted to say right now scripted because I don't want to forget any aspect of it. Today brings closure to what has been a very, very long, painstaking, heartbreaking, and full of hindrances and obstacles and impedances and all these other adjective words semester. And now I can reflect on it and talk about it because today marks the closure of that semester. Now that the final grade of the semester has been submitted by the professor. Even though that there were 9 classes that we all had to take in the second semester of grad school, there were 5 significant events in my life that all chose to occur in this brief couple of months. That on top of these courses called for a tremendous amount of my time, effort, energy, tension, and worries and sleep and or their lack of. So I want to talk about those 5 significant events and where I am today. The first significant event was my marriage failure, and that's, I don't know exactly how to describe that. I'll try to do it in the fewest words possible. Boy, girl, and boy and girl want to get married. Girl's parents does not really approve of guy. Guy does everything in his power to try to prove himself, apparently not only to the parents of the girl, but also to the girl, which he thought he wouldn't have to do, but he did have to prove himself to the girl also because she was very precarious in her wanting of the guy. Well, I know that that's very convoluted and whatnot, but I don't want to talk about it because it's just I've talked about it a lot over this past semester. So essentially, we didn't get married. She allowed herself to be the subject / victim of a tradition that should have been slaughtered not hundreds, but a century ago or more. She was the victim of, not victim, she gave in to arranged marriage and whatnot, and so I can't say that I wish her well or happiness or success or all this other stuff because she chose to marry a stranger. I only wish her to realize the consequence of her actions. I hope someday she realizes that that she shouldn't have given in to all that pressure and gone after what she wanted. So something that she'll have to figure out on her own. I hope she does that before she dies. But anyway, being jilted, it's a very odd feeling, being like left at the altar. A fragment of me lives in a parallel universe, and my mind drifts off to this parallel universe sometimes and wonders what it would have been like if she didn't give up on me, and then we were married. I wonder about that sometime. So it's I don't know if this dual mind will exist forever, but it is a thought that creeps into your mind after a dream about her, or after some random aspect of daily life reminds you of what you guys shared and whatnot. But anyway, that whole marriage attempt not only took up a lot of my time and energy and effort and emotion, in trying to convince her parents to that I was the better guy, not the other fat douchebag. He's not a douchebag. I don't know the man. He just didn't do anything to deserve her. I did, I think, everything in my power. But anyway, let's not talk about his fat self. What was I talking about? Damn it. I forget. Okay, so not only did I have to try to convince everyone that I should get married with her, or like even her, she was like, even she needed convincing sometimes that we could make it, and that was really sad on my part because I went beyond 50% of the way, which I don't mind, but it kind of put a doubt in my mind, like, why aren't you doing more? Anyway, so that was one part of my time and whatnot. And then when she actually returned the ring and got married, which actually happened on the same day, which was really a heartbreaking story, but I didn't feel bad because I was like, it's your loss. But anyway, so I had to deal with the aftermath of the fact that her family and she and everyone gave in to this other guy because of money, of monetary goods. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to protract this topic anymore because it's for other topics. So that was a big time absorber of this semester. Even in the middle of the semester, I missed so many classes to meet with her mom, to meet with her dad. One day I woke up at 4 a.m. and I decided to write a letter to her father, and I wrote a 2-page, 1,500-word letter to him, and I drove about 40 miles north to meet him at a Friday prayer and hand deliver the letter, which I don't know if he ever read, but I did that. I did a lot of things, and all of which I am proud of, or I try to compensate for if I wasn't proud of, but I did do a lot. So in the end, not only did I get lost in trying to get married, but I also had to rebound from what didn't work out. So that was that. Second thing that happened, actually in the middle of this whole marriage chaos, was that my dad, it was actually the same day I gave her father the letter. That night, I went back home to my parents' house, and it was around like 1 a.m. Dad started having chest pain. Mom came into my room, woke me up, and then Dad was having severe chest pain and whatnot, and that was the first time we actually called the ambulance. So it was weird. And then later we went to one hospital. Then they said that he's having a heart attack. Then we had to go to another hospital, and essentially he had a massive heart attack. Is what we found out later on, and he stayed in the hospital for 5 days. And that was a very traumatic event because although my dad is 58 years old, which isn't old, I guess, in modern times, but I've never seen him as an old man. And after this heart attack, or during this heart attack, when he was in this hospital bed, in this recovery state from this massive heart attack, for the first time, especially like when I was feeding him, because he had like IVs in his hands and whatnot, I was feeding him with a spoon, and like it was like feeding a baby bird, and although I try not to, I didn't try to show the fact, I mean, like, show an emotion while I was doing that. But later on, when I went to the waiting room, I sat, it was really late at night, like 3 a.m. I sat in the dark room and actually cried in a chair because I never saw him that weak physically and whatnot, and just everything, just hit at one point. And also the marriage stuff was going on at the same time, so it was crazy because during this time, so many people came to show their support or just be a part of that be a part of my life during that event. And I called her a couple of times, who was my ex-fiance, and she never got back to me, or she never said anything, or we never spoke. But it is just weird because I needed her then a lot. I needed her, and she wasn't there. So anyway, after the 5-day stay at the hospital, a month later we got our bill. It is still $108,000, of which we don't have any of that to pay. So we applied for Medicaid. We're waiting on the response for that. Dad's on like 7-8 different medications daily, and so he quit one of his jobs, and he's still working at his other job. So that whole thing required so much emotional agony and whatnot. And it was actually during this time that we had a physiology exam, and I got a 54% on that exam, of which we only had 3 exams. So I was really scared in many ways because emotionally I was a mess. With family, the family really needed me as the oldest son, and my middle brother being at UF, and I was failing school. So it was a very dangerous time in my life when so many things were going awry. So dad was in recovery. Okay, so that was the second major event of the semester. Well, I guess the third one was during the time of me doing all those things or efforts to try to get married to my ex-fiance. My parents, because in cultural marriages, like Indian and Asian sort of marriages, you need the parents do most of the flirting and the agreements and terms and all this other bullshit. So I needed my parents I needed their help. And they're like, we send you off to grad school, and you didn't mention anything about a girl, and suddenly you want to marry this girl, and are you even studying and whatnot, And so they didn't ask me to move back home. They demanded that I move back home, and I understand why they would. And honestly, I'm upset with myself for doing that. I'm taking out massive loans and whatnot, and I'm just being frivolous with and then not taking this seriously. And so I understand why they did that. So I had to leave this very cozy and comfortable and me room. By me, I mean like this room is really, I customized it to be me, and I love this room a lot. I had to leave this place, go back home, and home is 20 miles away from my university, and for about a month and a half, I had to drive back and forth from school, like every day back home, like I did for undergrad. But doing that for grad school is just insane.